Welcome to our garment creation series. This is a quick start guide where we'll focus on the key techniques to get you creating basic garments in no time. By the end of this series, you'll have the essential skills to start bringing your virtual clothing designs to life. In this series, we will design jogger pants from a 2D pattern reference. Let's get started. First, let's take a look at our 2D pattern reference for our pants. We have the front, back, and waistband. We will start by selecting the polygon tool in the 2D toolbar. One way to approach this is to place a point at each corner, so let's go ahead and do that. After we connect the last point, we will see that we created a 3D pattern piece in the window on the left. In the 2D window, let's change the surface to transparent so that we can still see the 2D pattern reference. Now, let's select the Edit Curve Point tool to refine the shape. We can use these curve points to add curvature. Let's add a few points on the segment lines, and then move the line to match it to our reference. To quickly switch between editing the pattern and the curve points, we can use the shortcuts Z for Edit Pattern and V for moving the curve points. Feel free to take your time with this process and add as many curve points as you need. And now, if we take another look in the 3D window, we see that we have completed the front pant pattern piece. Let's repeat the same process for the back pant pattern piece and the waistband. Select the polygon tool and place a point at each corner. Then we will add our curve points. For the waistband, let's use the rectangle tool. Once we've finished creating all of our pattern pieces, let's arrange them in the 3D window. We'll start with the back pattern piece. Let's move it to the back side of the avatar. If you are not seeing the shaded side, go to the toolbar and change it from thick textured surface to textured surface. This shaded side of the back pattern piece tells us that this is the inside of the pants. We need to flip it to the other side so that we can sew it in the proper direction. Right-click the pattern piece and select Flip horizontally. Now, let's position the front pattern piece. Select both pants pattern pieces, right-click, and select Freeze. Underneath the avatar icon, select Arrangement Points. We will use these blue dots to wrap the waistband around the avatar. With the waistband selected, let's click on this blue dot to arrange the pattern piece. And then let's hide the arrangement points. In the 2D window, let's use the segment sewing tool to sew the waistband together. Hover over the edge until you see a blue line. Click and then move your mouse to the other end. Select that edge to create a sewing line. Let's unfreeze the pants pattern pieces and use the gizmo to rotate and move them until they are aligned with the leg. In the 2D window, let's use the segment sewing tool to connect the front and back pattern pieces. Now let's create the other side of the pants. In the 2D pattern window, select the pants pattern pieces, right-click and select the symmetric pattern with sewing. This copies both of the pattern pieces and their sewing relationships. It also links them, meaning that whatever edits we make to the original pattern pieces will also affect the copied pattern pieces. Let's go ahead and complete the sewing by connecting the pants in the front, and let's also connect them in the back. Now we are ready to sew the waistband to the pants. For this, we will use the M to N sewing tool. Let's take a closer look at this process before we start sewing. We will start our sewing with the back left pattern piece. Then we will move to the front left. Next, the front right. Then the back. Lastly, we will select the waistband segment and sew all the pant segments to that line. Okay, so let's sew these together. Next to the sewing icon, we can see directions telling us to select a segment to begin M sewing. We will select all the pant segments in the order we just demonstrated. Let's also ensure that all of our notches are facing the same direction. Once we finish with M sewing, let's press enter, and then we will complete our N sewing. Okay, let's take a look at our sewing lines. We see that each pant segment is now connected to the waistband. And here we can move the pattern pieces into place before completing the sewing. Now we are going to create our ankle cuffs. In the 2D window, let's start by adding internal lines to our pattern pieces. We will use them to separate the cuffs from the base pants pattern. Select the pattern outline. I used a shortcut to access the Offset as Internal Line menu, but another way to find the menu is to right-click on the pattern outline and select Offset as Internal Line. Enter 3.5 for the distance. These red lines indicate that we have successfully created an internal line. Now we want to separate the base pants from the cuffs, so right-click on the internal line and select Cut and Sew. If we select the cuff pattern pieces in the 3D window, we see that they are now separate pattern pieces, but are still connected by sewing lines. Now let's go ahead and reduce the width of the cuff pattern pieces. With the Transform Pattern tool selected, select all the pieces, double-click the pivot point, and then we can resize them. Now let's take a look at the object browser. This is where we add our fabrics, and when we select the fabric, we have the ability to change its properties in the property editor. We can adjust things like materials, physical properties, and thickness. To add our fabrics, select the library to expand it. Select Fabric, double-click, and in the icon view, we can see the thumbnail of all the fabrics. If we hover over the thumbnail, we can see additional information about the fabric. Let's select List View and scroll down to Knit Fleece Terry. We'll drag this into the object browser. Let's also grab the gray rib fabric. With the Transform Pattern tool selected, hold down Shift while selecting the base pants pattern pieces. We'll assign the fabric by selecting this arrow. Let's repeat this same process for the waistband and cuffs. We'll assign them to the gray rib fabric. Select both fabrics and let's remove the texture so that they can all have the same color. If we take a look in the 3D window, we see that we have separated the cuffs from the base pants and we have added our new fabrics. And that wraps up part 1 of our quick start guide. With these basic tools and techniques, you've now got a solid starting point for designing garments in Marvelous Designer. Remember, the goal was to get you comfortable designing basic garments quickly. In the next part, we will focus on adding elasticity to the waistband and ankle cuffs. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.